All right. It is 3 a.m. I have been at the theater since 9 o'clock this morning. I watched Asteroid City, I watched The Flash, and then at midnight tonight, I watched Across the Spider-Verse, the follow up to the Academy Award winning Into the Spider-Verse. Done by the guys who did the Lego movie. They got fired from Solo. They did Clone High, which is a super cool, underappreciated show that MTV used to have. Um, the first movie is brilliant. I can't stress enough just how amazing it is. That the animation, the mixing of animation styles, the fact that every character is moving at a different frame rate. It's amazing. Like, it's such a fucking undertaking. And I was seeing that one in the theater, going like, how do they do this? It's got one of the best comic book scenes, like any comic book movie. One of the best scenes is when Miles makes the jump, the leap of faith, and he's not falling, he's rising. I just think that's fucking incredible. Um, I was wondering how they were going to follow that up. We're going to get a bunch of deep cut Spider-Man characters. I knew that Oscar Isaac was playing Spider-Man 2099. I knew that Andy Samberg was playing Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, the Spider-Man in the sweatshirt. Um, and the whole Spider clone story, look that up. It's fucking ridiculous. Goes back to the Jackal and falling in love with Gwen Stacy and the clone. And was Peter real or was Ben Reilly the real? It was all a mess. So this one continues that style and takes it up another notch. It's got such an insane palette that I just it boggles my mind, and it would take a bunch of viewings to get all of it. The Gwen's story, her backstory, her introduction is almost the first 20 minutes of the movie, and it's painted in these almost watercolor style, shots, and takes a lot of from her comics, the Spider Gwen books as well. It's fantastic. And then by the time we get to Miles' story, we're coming to term. It's him coming to terms with the fact that he's growing up, that his parents feel like they're losing him, that he's lying to them. The one thing I will give this movie, it's really funny, and it continues the Spider-Man tradition, while deepening the lore and giving you stuff from every iteration of Spider-Man. But it's a way heavier movie. Like, it deals with shit when, because I'm not a parent, but I know, from talking to my parents growing up, and it deals with shit that hit home, and were like way more mature than I was expecting from a Spider-Man movie, basically. It revolves around or not Ben Schwartz, Jason Schwartzman. Second movie I saw today with him in it. He plays a villain called the Spot, who he was created in the first movie. He's the guy that Peter throws the bagel at, and he's out for revenge, and Peter sees him just as a villain of the week. So he's kind of fighting this guy, and it's fun until you realize that he wants to take apart everything in Peter's life and will stop at nothing to do it. That means destroying other timelines once he realizes that he can move from timeline to timeline, destroying their colliders and getting more and more powerful. In an alternate reality, there is a like elite squad of all of the Spider-Men, and their job is to keep the canon, basically, which means that certain events have to exist for, you know, the spider that bit Peter, or that bit Miles, was not from his dimension. It was from another dimension, which means that left that reality without a Spider-Man. He's the original anomaly. And what he comes to find out is that like they're monitoring him, and they basically need to erase him because he's messing up the continuity. Um, and you get why these characters do what they do. It's like everybody has a Captain Stacy. Everyone has a an Uncle Ben. Like these tragedies are what creates them, and it's the idea of the tragedy that creates you not defining you, and some of them given into it being the only thing. They're driven by it. It's funny because I saw The Flash earlier today, and it dealt with also very similar ideas, but whereas that one you have two different Batmen who are looking at it from different ways. This one does that as well, where Miles is like, I'm gonna write my own story, because in his world, his dad has to die in order for for Miles to become what he's supposed to be. Um, I don't know, man. I really, really dug it, and it's long. It's over 2 hours and 35 minutes long, and it ends on a cliffhanger. There's some great fucking gags in it. There's some great, you know, one of the villains that's captured is Donald Glover as the Prowler. He's real, like he's live action in this cartoon world. They use the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. They use the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, clips, images of them to show that all these different timelines and realities. The 1966 Spider-Man cartoon is in there, and Spider Cat, Spider Horse, Spider Dinosaur. And it takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, once Miles gets to the Spider HQ, it just becomes a wild, insane chase, where it's like something out of, because I'm not an anime guy, but the amount of kinetic energy and the way that the camera shifts, it's amazing. Like, I can't say enough. Just I love animation, but I know fucking nothing about it. I remember when I was on the old show, the Kieran was in that episode about Spider-Verse and talked a lot about the animation involved in it, and just there's so much cool shit, how it changes from different styles and eras, and even the text on screen, the very comic booky. They meet up with Spider-Man India, and when there's hits, it's all in Indian, as a Bengali, or sorry if I don't know. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's crazy that these guys were able to do something like this, with this amazing animation team, and create this thing that feels like a living comic book, and it's throwing all of your favorite things, no matter what Spider-Man you're into. If you're into the super fucking weird shit, that's in there too. If you're into a more serious Spider-Man, that's in there. Everything is on the table, and that's really, really cool. And then I don't know, it's like a comic book come to life, and it's got a really powerful message in it, and it ends on a real Back to the Future 2 style cliffhanger as to leading into the next one, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse, because we find Miles in a really, really bad situation at the end of it. And Gwen and Peter now has a daughter who's a baby that he takes out on adventures with him, and Mary Jane is not happy about that. But it's them basically having to go across the Spider-Verse to fix what they broke. This was great. This was really, really fucking good. And I think it's just something that people need to see. It's a visual feast for the eye. The score is incredible. The synth work, especially for Spider-Man 2099, is fantastic. Fantastic, awesome. I'm using all these buzzwords. I don't know. I'm really tired, but I just was like, just in awe of the visuals of this thing, how deep and how complex and how, when you look up close at some of the characters, you can see the little dots like you would in an old comic book. And it's funny and it's got heart to it, and it deals with real emotions in this animated movie about a fucking dude who gets spider powers, which I'm happy about. I'm happy that it doesn't feel the need. I said this in my Flash review too. It doesn't feel the need to undercut the human emotion in the scene by making a joke, which then removes all of the tension and all of the feeling from something. And that's kind of one of my biggest complaints about Marvel is they don't allow the moment to breathe. They don't allow the characters to feel the defeat or feel the loss in that moment. They got to make a quip, and Spider-Man's a quippy character, but in this one, they deal with some shit. They deal with some real, heavy shit. And I've said that a couple times. I don't know. I'm kind of in awe of this thing. Could it have been a little bit shorter? Yeah. But that's also because I've been here since 9 a.m. But the score, the visuals, the story, and what it's setting up was all extremely impressive. And again, so many deep cuts for Spider-Man fans. Amazing voice cast. Yeah, I really, really dug it. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Now I'm going to go home and go to sleep. And then tomorrow I have a screening of The Blackening. Maybe I'll do a review of that one. I don't know. And then I got to get some paperwork done and some bills paid and get us ready for the weekend. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a definite C. And I feel like this one is also going to be an Oscar contender for Best Animated Film because, again, it does shit that I've never seen before. And that's something. So